People have asked me about my educational credentials. They're curious. Well, I'm going to show you the actual degrees, diplomas. This is my first one, right? Me, Beverly Ernest Ann Copeland, named after my father, Ernest, and my great-grandmother, Ann. Okay. This was from Barnard College, the Women's College at Columbia University. The president of the college, Jacqueline Matfield at the time, the president of Columbia University, McGill. This is the seal of Columbia University here. See if you're going to see it. There it is, all right? That's my first one, my bachelor's. I completed a double major at Barnard College. I completed 2 majors, philosophy and political science. Mine was not an easy life, fighting a tsunami of opposition, a tsunami of envy and hate, as I was told by the college psychiatrist, because as an undergraduate, I was the smartest person on Columbia University's campus, as evidenced by the research I did. The fact that white students who didn't make a fraction of the contribution that I did were allowed to write their own ticket. That's one of the advantages of going to schools like that. When you make a contribution to the research of the university, you are rewarded. On the other hand, an attempt was made to criminalize me by the university that failed. In fact, an agent provocateur named Percival Claypool, who was overcome with guilt when I did nothing criminal, instead had a nervous breakdown that people are not supposed to recover from. Percy Claypool committed suicide. He was an agent provocateur who worked for Columbia University. Did nothing even remotely criminal. So that is my, and Barbara Schmitter, who was a dean and then became a vice president, and they all professors or college psychiatrists, they said that was the point. If I had done anything criminal, they would have put me in prison, like so many other lost souls, and picked my brains ad nauseum. You may recall around that time, people in prison were allowed to get as many degrees, study whatever they want, for free, even though when they got out, there were no jobs for them. Yet squeaky clean, working class and middle class kids who couldn't afford to go to college couldn't go. So that's the first one. The second one I got was from the School of International Affairs at Columbia, a Master of International Affairs, concentration International Business. Picker was the dean of the school, Harvey Picker. McGill was president, and then there's the seal again, university. Mine was not an easy life as a student. There's the seal of the university, like Barnard. Now, I was discouraged from going to Columbia University by University of Chicago. They told me I was too advanced for an Ivy League school. I was told to go to the University of Chicago, which at the time was like getting it was like getting a PhD. A bachelor's at the University of Chicago was like getting a PhD anywhere else. I was told I would be bored by recruiters, admissions, faculty, alum, etc. So they were envious, as DeFries said. So they're envious. It's not surprising to me that the Polish lobby, the American political intellectual class, scholars at elite universities like Columbia University, in cahoots with the elites in the Democratic and Republican Party, primarily in Washington, D.C., have orchestrated of this Second American Revolution, an attempt to overthrow the old world order and establish this Polish-led Yugoslav, neo-Nazi, neo-fascist New World Order. In fact, the architect, as I have been told, by his colleagues at Columbia University is a man named Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was on the faculty at Columbia University when I was a student there, and his books, like Between Two Ages, which he published in 1970, shortly before I got there, and which was edited and reviewed and by faculty at Columbia, because he was teaching there. You know, they had to know intimately well what his agenda has been. And his subsequent writings read like a blueprint, like the Grand Chessboard, and his books and his writings on Eastern Europe post his books. But it's been like a sting because Brzezinski double-crossed those scholars, etc. They can't go to Poland. So then I got from Pace University an MBA, right? I went to Pace really by default. I had been told, I had applied to Yale University to get a business degree from Yale. In fact, I was told, I went for an interview, I was told on the basis of my academic record, my transcripts, my work at Barnard, philosophy, I did very well, considering I had a double major, philosophy and political science, and then I had a master's. I was going to get a master's from Columbia. I ended up at Pace only because Yale told me that when I went to interview, oh, no question, you're going to get in, no question. Your grades, your GMATs are as competitive with Asians applying to PhD programs in business. Not only that, your grades, your work experience. I didn't get in. I couldn't understand it. At the time I was married, my husband and I were visiting some friends in Connecticut. He said, well, let's go to Yale and find out what happened. I went to Yale. I was told by admissions, etc., Beverly, yes, it is true. We would have admitted you to Yale, except for the fact that Professor Roger Hilsman wrote a recommendation that was so damning, we can't admit you. If he retracts the recommendation, we will admit you. I said, it has to be a mistake. Because Roger Hilsman served in President John F. Kennedy's administration, he is very popular on campus. He says when in his classes, he gets so many requests for recommendation that he attaches to the final paper, your final paper, the letter of recommendation that he is going to use should you ask him for a recommendation for graduate school or for law school or professional school, or if you want a recommendation for work. I got a B+ out of Roger Hilsman's course. It was a 900 level, the highest level political science course offered at the university. I got a B+. The letter that he attached to my final paper was very, very praiseworthy. So I called Professor Hilsman. He said, oh, it was a mistake, it was a mistake. Yeah. I'm going to retract it. He never did. I talked to faculty at Columbia about it, including someone who had left the university, who was one of my advisors, Inez Smith-Reed. She was my advisor in the political science department. She's a Yalie too, an African American. And I talked to my other faculty, etc. I told them what Hilsman's policy was. They checked it out. It was all true. He never retracted the letter. This is, people say, well, why did you become a Republican? I have been so badly burned by both the Democrats and the Republicans. Again, Roger Hilsman, so-called liberal progressive, had worked in John F. Kennedy's administration. So he never did. Initially, I went to the University of Wisconsin. Now, I needed medication, and the doctor I had been seeing, had arranged for me to see a doctor when I got out there. The doctor refused to see me. I ended up going to the college and couldn't find a doctor, infirmary, to get medication. They refused to give me medication. Needless to say, I had to leave University of Wisconsin after one semester and come back to New York. I am not a slave of Columbia University. I am not their slave to work in their colony like the City University of New York, where they can pick my brains ad nauseum and not even respect me enough. Well, now I'm burnt out and sick and a retired old lady. They didn't even want to respect me enough to give me a job at Columbia. But you know why? Because at Columbia, you have the movers and shakers, scholars from around the world, not only that, heads of state, etc., on campus. And they did not want to give me that kind of exposure. Rather, what they wanted to do, to keep me, ghettoize me, at a CUNY school, junior CUNY college, where people of that stature don't visit, so that they could have students, which has happened, tape record my lectures and steal my ideas. Now, you have to understand that at Columbia University, this is what they do to black scholars. The university, these elite schools, are the last bastion of, one of the last bastions of extreme segregation in this country in terms of faculty and administration. For example, Barnard College, where I got my first degree at Columbia, if they have one black tenured female professor, that's extraordinary. That's extraordinary. It is an elite women's college. It is extraordinary. At the broader university where I got my master's, if you are on the faculty there, typically you are in education, social work, nursing. You are not in physics, mathematics, philosophy. You may be in political science. You may be in anthropology. You're not in the mainstream, you're not in engineering, very few. And this is something that's not discussed. The extreme racism at the elite American universities. It is unconscionable, the segregation. And many are shunted to black studies. I have nothing against black studies. It is important. I think more than just black people should take it. But black scholars should not be ghettoized in black studies. The great black minds are in black studies. If they were in the full range of disciplines, not just black studies, like the Germans did with the Jews, who had the insider-outsider view, so you had Freud, Fromm, Marx, you had Einstein, physics, because the Germans tapped into that genius of having the insider-outsider view. Unlike the American barbarians, and they are barbarians, who are become so envious when they have to deal with a black person who is on their level, or God forbid, smarter than them, they feel they have to destroy and exploit them, or marginalize them, ghettoize them at the university, and shunt them in black studies. So that's that. Now I want to show you this. I received this award when I graduated from Pace University. That's it. Pace University Graduate School of Business. It says, in recognition of her scholarship and exceptional dedication to the advancement of the ideals of the Pace University Graduate School of Business, Beverly Copeland is selected as the Outstanding Student of the Year, June 1980, when I graduated. This I received from Mayor Giuliani. The City of New York. You see the City of New York, the seal of the city of New York. Okay. City of New York, Certificate of Recognition. Know ye by these presents that I, Rudolph W. Giuliani, Mayor of the City of New York, do hereby present this award to Beverly Copeland for being a positive role model as an employee of the City of New York, as well as in the gay and lesbian community, in witness whereof I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of New York to be affixed the 18th day of June, 2001. Rudolph W. Giuliani, Mayor. And this I got this is a national award that I got from the Log Cabin, you see, from the Log Cabin Republicans. Grassroots Leadership Award presented to Beverly Copeland for outstanding contributions on behalf of the Log Cabin Movement, New York City, August 29, 1999. And we could go back even more. When I graduated from junior high school, when I graduated from junior high school, 133 in the Bronx, New York, I was in a gifted program, South Bronx. This is the John Fitzgerald Kennedy Leadership Award, presented to Beverly Copeland, John Dwyer Junior High School, Bronx, June 1967. This is what I got. This is what I got from by Bush, Bush. I was invited to W's inauguration. So you see the inaugural seal, presidential inaugural seal. And so this is what it says here. The Committee for Presidential Inaugural requests the honor of your presence to attend and participate in the inauguration of George Walker Bush as President of the United States of America, and Richard Bruce Cheney as Vice President of the United States of America, on Saturday, the 20th of January, 2001, in the city of Washington. Now, I just have my mother has gotten a ton of things over the years. My mother has gotten a ton of things over the years. I'm just going to read this. Just a couple of them. Certificate of Appreciation for Longevity. My mother was more of a Christian than anyone I have ever known. This is from her church. May God continue to bless you, strengthen you, and keep you, Ms. Clara Copeland. In recognition of your commitment, dedication, and zest for life, and staying power, for standing like a tree planted by the water and refusing to be moved, for letting the work you've done and the life you are living speak for you. We, the Fellowship Committee of St. John's Lutheran Church, bestow this longevity award upon you on this day, the 5th of December, 1999. Eileen Singleton, Fellowship Committee Chairperson. This is another award that my mom received. After they sold their mom and pop businesses, my father retired, my mother had to find something to do. So this is what she received from an art school right here in the Bronx. Mind Builders Creative Arts Center Outstanding Volunteer Service Award, presented to Clara Copeland for your dedication and outstanding contributions to the support of our programs and the community. March 31st, 1993. And this was awarded to my mom by me on her 80th birthday. My mother died at 90 years old. A dove so fitting, because my mother was more of a Christian than anyone I've ever known, and a woman of peace. She didn't have any hate. I never heard her utter one anti-Semitic or anti-anything about anyone. So for the Jews to do that to my mother, I cannot forgive. Happy 80th birthday. Mother Clara Childers Copeland. We had a big bash for her at Sylvia's restaurant, one of these This is one of the more important black restaurants. It's in Harlem, in New York. In recognition of your outstanding lifelong service and dedication to your family and community, we come together to celebrate your 80th birthday. With love and gratitude, your friends, family, and community, October 10th, 2001. I mention all of these things because of the smear campaign against me and my great and honorable mother by my brother, other family members, and my brother to defraud me and my small, and my 90 years old, my mother didn't have much, you know. So my brother to defraud me and my sister out of our rightful share of our small inheritance, to involve me in a scam, apparently. And these little low-life politicians, Jew filth like Michael Bloomberg, filth like the Clintons, the Bushes, garbage like Obama. Hey, Obama, wear pants that aren't tight in the crotch when you go visit people who have been devastated, Americans who've been devastated by hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff. Garbage like Obama, the Clintons, McCain, oh, please. The smear campaign that Columbia University had against me, as I was told by the college psychiatrist, because they were envious, because I was the smartest person on campus as an undergraduate, which is consistent with what the recruiters from the University of Chicago told me. Don't go there, you're too advanced for an Ivy League school. But I was born this way. I scored genius on standardized IQ tests as far back as primary school. I had always been in the top classes, programs for gifted kids. My first grade teacher gave me, her father owned a pet shop, Miss Blake. She gave me a dog, a Doberman Pinscher puppy, because I was the smartest kid in the first grade. So I have always done well. Maybe once in my life I didn't do well on a standardized test because I was sick. But beyond that, always going back to the first grade. An IQ test off the chart, as far back as primary school. I was born this way. And so it's not surprising that I got into Bronx Science. Hey, I received the award for distinction in science when I graduated from PS 146 in the Bronx because my standardized test scores in the sciences were off the chart. So I went to Bronx Science, right? Now, even though, you see, people think that it's just black kids who aren't bright that are discriminated against. Even the smart ones, students of color, are discriminated against. When I took the test for Bronx Science, right, I came home and I told my parents, I know I got in, I aced that test. You know, it was for high school. Primary school, I had received the award for distinction in science. Junior high school, I had been in a gifted program, right? So I was prepared, so I knew I had done well, right? So I didn't get in. They wanted me to go in an affirmative action summer program. I couldn't believe it, but I went. But the proof of the pudding that I had aced the entrance exam to Bronx Science is the summer program is modeled after the exam for the school. Now, we had about 3 or 4 exams. It was English and math. On the math exam, on at least 2, maybe 3, there was about 30 kids in the class. There were 2 classes, 60 kids. 80% of the kids, even in the summer program, were white. It was an affirmative action, my ass. The school was 85% Jewish, less than 1% black when I went there. So the proof of the pudding that I had aced the exam was the fact that in the summer program on the math, we had about 3 exams. 2 of them I got the highest score. The midterm I got 100%. And the English I did very well too. So for the summer program I got an A for math and I got a B+ for English because it is so hard for some people to give black people an A in English. I remember when I was at Columbia. Speech is a very easy course. You know, you take speech when you have to fill in, you know, you can't, you know, when you got, it's a 2-credit course. So I had to take something to fill in because, you know, I needed to take it. I took state speech with Professor Norman. Everyone said, don't take it with Professor Norman. Your mother and father could be English teachers. The highest grade he's ever given a black student, as long as he's taught speech at Columbia University, is a B+. Why put yourself through that, Beverly? I said, well, I have bad luck because this is the only thing I can fit in. And I took it, and that's what Norman gave me, a B+. So on my transcript for speech. I've been speaking, Columbia knows I've been speaking up a storm for a long time, writing too. So this is just a little something that I put together because I'm tired of the fear and smear of me and my great and honorable mother. I could have put more things out, but that's it. Then this is one. These are letters that my sister wrote me. This is the latest one. I think I'll zoom in on this. I'm going to read them, but you can zoom in on it at a later time. And note in the margin, she says, Beverly, I'm your sister, I love you. In all the margins, she has that. Notice the date, 4/16. She talks about Oscar's wife, kind of garbage she is. In terms of Martin Luther King's sense, the content of her character, she is garbage, just like my brother's garbage. This is the latest letter. He's garbage, and I have nothing to do with the people in this community, not only because of what they did to my mother, not because I'm an educated snob and I consider them semi-literate gutter snipes, but in terms of Martin Luther King's criteria, the content of their character, they are garbage, envious, inferior, filth, perverts, and degenerates. I don't associate with perverts and degenerates. I have too much integrity. I avoid them like the plague. One said hello to me the other day. I looked at her like she was crazy. She's saying hello to me for. I looked at her like she was crazy. I avoid most of these people like the plague. They are a plague. Envious, inferior, semi-literate gutter snipes. In terms of Martin Luther King's criteria, the content of their character, they're garbage. And I don't associate with garbage unless I'm being manipulated. So to avoid that, I don't have anything to do with this garbage. They're envious and inferior. And you look at the children and grandchildren, they have so much that they need to be taken care of, rather than minding my business or my mother's business. Looking at their children and grandchildren. Now, my sister's letters have a lot of untruth. The fact that she says I should call this Viliani character raises a lot of red flags. First and foremost, Viliani was at my mother's funeral. I hadn't invited him, which means my brother had invited him, which means he's in cahoots with my brother. The way my thinking. Not to mention my sister is no angel, but she knows that if my brother messes up, I'm next to become the executor of my mother's estate. And my sister knows she'll get her fair share if I'm the executor of my mother's estate.